Hello, Cam and Naomi. This is Aunt Pat coming to you from 501 Price, Mattoon, Illinois. I've never been live before. Almost died. Now I'm live. And live making noodles. Devoured all my secret recipes down there given out before. And I'm sure Naomi is going to be a very good cook. And Cam's going into every Slurpee noodle. And, I don't know. We'll just get on with the process. We're kind of calling all the loons together today to see if we can get all the loonies in one pile to make the noodles, since we kind of sound like we have a problem. First, you're going to need some eggs and some salt and some cream and flour. That's all it takes to make noodles. And you're going to need a rolling pin with a magic sock, which makes it very easy to roll your noodles so they don't all wad up in one big gob. And you need a whip. Then you need a measuring teaspoon, 1 teaspoon. And you will need a 1 cup measuring cup. And you need a knife that I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Now, you should always dress appropriately to make noodles. Wear the best stuff you got, and don't worry if you run, because that's all part of making noodles. First, you're going to take 1 egg. A lot of people put a lot of eggs in your noodles, and that makes it all tough. Take 1 egg, and you just put that over there.
Grandma, can I help you?
And then you're going to take 1 teaspoon of salt. About that much. And you put that right in there. And you put in 4 teaspoons. Is that what I put in it? I think it is. Is that what I put in it, Karen?
Tablespoons.
Tablespoons? 4 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, almost. That was a little more. And you put that down, and you take your whisk, and you put it up here, and just beat the heck out of it. Just mix nicely, just like that. Slimy old egg mix.
Can you put flour?
Yeah, we have to add our flour.
Can I use the flour?
And to add flour, we need to measure properly. It has to be dumped in lightly into your measuring cup, just like so. You take the flat side of your case knife and peck, just like this, so it's all even, and then you scrape it off. That's an accurate cup, and you put that right in there. Then we're going to take a fork, just plain old dinner fork, and first I take this and just let it mix around and around just a little bit. See, so it just kind of coats the flour, coats the egg. And when you want, you just want to stir it just a little bit and toss it until you see that it's a little sticky. You might want to look at this, because once you get it stirred up, if you don't have enough liquid in it, you can't fix it. You can always add more flour, but you can't add more liquid. And it starts to just look like a gobby mess. It's kind of like that. And that's when it's going to look just, if it gets all moist,
Then you put it all over.
then you got it good.
Then
You finish stirring it, see, until it all sticks in a nice sticky ball like that, and it pulls it all just like that. But see, it's not stiff, it's still, and when you put it on your hand, it sticks just a little bit, but it's not hard. If it's hard, pitch it and make another. This is just a single batch. Sometimes you can make 2 batches at the same time with 2 eggs and 8 tablespoons of milk and 2 cups of flour. But you never want to make a batch bigger than that, because that's too big and it'll just mess all up. It won't be any good. And I see why I wiped this up with a wet cloth. That was bad, because now when you roll it out, it'll stick to that and be a horrible gummy mess. Your countertop has to be totally dry. Let me get a paper towel here and fix this drastic problem we have. Do you think that's good enough, Genevieve? It has to be clean and dry. Then we take some extra flour and we put it out here, just about like that. You don't want to start with too much flour. Get too much flour in there, and then it gets tough and hard. And you don't want to mess with the dough any longer than you have to. See, just like that. That's the way it should look. And you just set your bowl over here, and you can use it again. You don't even have to wash it out. And you should get some flour in your hand and just kind of pat it in. See, it's still stretchy. Kind of looks like pizza dough. As long as it still sticks to your fingers, it has to have just a little bit more flour. And that's the way it's working in. See, it's stretchy. You don't want to... Okay, now we got our dough all ready to go. And as you can see, it's still stretchy. And our goal is to make it either nice and round or very oblong and stretched out, because it's easier. Then you can just cut it in one cut and then slice all your noodles that way. So you put a little bit of flour underneath it, like that. And then you take rolling bin with your nice sock, which you get at the hardware store, in what they call a pastry bag, which you use to roll out pie crust and baking things, so it doesn't stick bad. But yeah, you roll your rolling bin in the flour, and we're going to roll it out. Go. And now we're going to finish rolling our dough out. And every once in a while, you roll it in the flour and roll it and roll it. But you need to push a little bit hard, but not really hard. And you'll look in one direction and back in the other. Don't do that. That's not good. And when it sticks, you roll it up gently. And you put more flour underneath it. And just roll it up. It's kind of like gooey bubble gum. But it'll be all right. It won't be bad. And you just put more flour under it. And just keep folding it over till you get down to the end. And then you turn it upside down. And put just a little bit of flour on the top. Not much, because you don't want to make it tough. And you roll, and you roll, and so you get good exercise while you're doing it. Because it stretches, and it will increase your bust size. And I'm sure that's just what you need, Natalie. And as you can see, it's all loose now. And you can put more flour underneath it and lay it back down. And then you roll it this way. And you have it about this size. And as you look at it, it has to be really, really thin. And when you can look like you can see through it, and you can see the spots of the flour on the back side, then you know it's thin enough. And as you can see, it's very thin. See on the edges, it's just like a nice heavy paper. And that's the way it will be. Then we have to let it dry, which may take, depends on the weather. If it's really humid, it'll take a long time. But every once in a while, you have to come check on them and see that it's not sticking on the back side. If it is, you put a little more flour on it and let it dry for a little while. And then, after it starts getting dry, we turn it over. And you can usually just pick it up and turn it over. Now we have to let it dry. And then we'll come back and we will finish cutting them. And then we will finish up and have delicious noodles. See you later. Bye-bye. Kara? Oh! Okay, we're back for break. And as you can see, our noodles have not dried. But we don't have all night. So, the next step in our noodles is take your genuine Williams-Sonoma vegetable brush and you brush off all the flour that you see laying on the top. And you want to get all that off because that makes your noodles really tough and makes your broth really thick, too thick to start with when you start cooking your noodles. So then we brush all that off just like this, and it won't hurt your noodles at all. And you don't have to be too gentle, but if you rip a hole like I did right here, you just put it back and poke it down like that. And then after you get this side brush, you turn it over and you brush the other side off. Just like that. Until you get it all brushed off. But by the time it's dry, you can probably just pick the whole thing up and just flip it over. When I make them, I make several batches. I line the whole counter and the whole table downstairs. I normally make 16 batches at a time, which is a lot of noodles that I don't think you'll need until I come out for dinner. Okay, then you take a nice knife, and you need to be careful if you're cutting on a good countertop, not to whack into it. But as you can see, my countertop is shot, so we can just whack on it. And I usually take this at this size, and I just cut it right down the middle. Oops, just like this. But because they're not dry, they're not cutting too good. Now normally, I would take this piece and lay it on top of this piece, and then you just pick it up and lay it on your board, which it'll be all stiff. You won't have to worry about it flop. But I'm going to do it single layer this time because it's all doughy and they'll stick together. If their noodles aren't dry enough, you'll just have one big gob of gummed up noodles. So they have to be dry. And I like to cut them pretty thin, just about this width. That makes a nice noodle. And you go ahead and you just cut and cut and cut until you get them all cut. Because as you can see, when you cut more than one strip, if you have like 2 or 3 strips together, then you cut them a lot faster. And this is what they come off like. And you just shake them off here. And you do the whole thing just like that. Then when you get a whole bunch of them cut, you cut a few more here. And, oh, see, mine are all the same even, but it doesn't matter because once they're in the cook pot, nobody will know. And I use this handy dandy little pastry cutter, or pastry scraper, and it's very handy when you make noodles because if it sticks to the counter, so you can just go around the edge like this, just scoop them all loose. And then when they're drying, you just lay them out on your top of your counter with your flour on them, but you want to brush all this extra flour that's on here from making the noodles, brush all that out of the way because that's too much flour. You don't want all that because they won't dry. And then you toss them like this so they all fall apart and they don't stick together and get all gummy. And several times while they're drying, you do that to them. And sometimes, depending on the weather, it'll take like 4 hours or maybe a little bit more, but it's not 4 hours of constant work. You just have to let them dry and then come back to them later. And when they're all dry, you can scoop them all up and put them in a bigger bowl, or some you want to freeze them, you can put them in a Ziploc bag. And then you just continue to slice all your noodles, and that is all there is to that. And then you have to have your cook pot. I have a noodle pot. You'll have to excuse our interruptions. We have a lot of rude family here today. Anyhow, we will continue. This is my cook pot and my stock pot that a wonderful sister gave to me a very long time ago, and it's made lots of Thanksgiving and Christmas noodles, and it's very well used and loved. You need to get one of these so you have it your whole lifetime, and maybe you can hand it down to one of your little noodle heads when you get some. This is the kind of spoon I use in my stock pot, so the broth will go through. But when you cook your noodles, you have to stir them continuously and not too fast, or they will stick and scorch and they will taste really bad. This is the kind of broth that I use, and it has, as you can see, it's very yellow because it's very rich broth. This is homemade stock broth. And you can also use the broth with your turkey if you cook a turkey. And when I cook my turkey, I put butter in him, so he's very rich, and you have very rich broth. And to tell you the truth, the whole deal to making noodles is make them thin, not too much flour, and very good stock. And if it's not good, your noodles are cruddy. And you can also use this for any kind of good broth. And my recommendation, if you're going to use this, is put a little the dried stock in it and a stick of butter. Will make your noodles much, much better when you cook them. So you preheat your stock in your pot, and you probably start out with, well, you have to kind of judge this part because that's the part that's hard to tell. But you always need extra stock, and you need to have it all thick enough that you know when you start dropping your noodles in that it will be not really, really thick. You have to be able to cover your noodles because you can always thicken them later if they're too thin. And this is the next thing is you put it in your pot and you get it to boiling. And as you dump your noodles in your hot broth and your stock, you just want to dump like a handful at a time and just drizzle them in. Don't throw a whole lot in or they'll end up in one big gob. But remember, these should be dry. They shouldn't be like this. This isn't good. You can't cook them this way. They have to be dry and kind of crumply and wrinkly. But you don't want to get them hard as a brick either because then they'll, well, you can, but then when you pick them up, they'll all break into teeny tiny pieces if you're not very careful. And I think that concludes our program. You cooked them probably about at least 20 minutes. And you kind of have to keep testing and tasting to make sure they're not too tough. And I want to introduce you to my assistant, noodle helper, over here. This is my Genevieve noodle making assistant, and she makes some very good noodles. She made noodles with Grammy for Thanksgiving, and her sister Gabrielle are going to carry on the tradition at Grammy's house, right? Is there anything else we need to tell them about making our noodles? What do we add? We add this broth, and what else do we add?
Soup.
Soup. This soup. I know, I just think we have to do a lot of, and a spoon, and noodles, and what do we have to do? Stir, 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 right? And I think that's all there is to making Aunt Pat's noodles.
Then you let them, then you will eat them.
Then you'll eat them,
And they'll be yummy.
and they will be yummy. And we wish you happy noodling, don't we? Huh? Goodbye.